Hey, how's everyone doing? Good morning or good evening, wherever you are. Appreciate you being here. Excuse me. If you can, let me know how the sound is coming in. And today we're going to be revisiting the interview with Chris Powell. We're going to be taking a look at what I sort of started calling Hoover or Hoodenomics, meaning Biden seems to be doing what Herbert Hoover was doing. So Hoodenomics, and in it, Hooden meaning who then is going to pay for it all. I guess it's going to be you and me. But we'll be taking a look at that and something Hoover absolutely warned us about, and something that we're heading into. And we'll be taking a look at a few articles from Gerald Salente's Trends Journal. So again, glad you're here, and if you can, just let me know how the audio's coming in for you. Appreciate it. Truth Monster, how you doing? Omarova compared herself to Thatcher. Okay, well, we'll touch on that. I'm more interested in what you folks have to say or think about what's going on with Brainard and Omarova. So that should be pretty interesting. I'll be with you guys shortly. Harold B, thanks for letting me know. 5 by 5. Jay Delaney, how you doing? Manny Lewis, Truth Monster again. Patrick Bateman, greetings and salutations as always. I'll be with you guys shortly. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television SBTV. This is our live stream, bi-weekly live stream for the time being. Glad you could be here once again. And again, thanks for letting me know how the audio is coming in. Quick roll call while we're here. Aloha to you all. Bill Wood, Tampa says, hello, Bill Wood. How you doing? And if you are new, go ahead and type in new and where you're from. And then we'll see if we can go ahead and acknowledge you. So Bill Wood from Tampa, how you doing? Manny Lewis again, Seymour Rivers. I think you are our book champion. And with that, the book situation kind of changed a bit. Sometimes we run into small, excuse me, small headaches with Amazon. So instead, what we'll be doing is giving away gift cards. So I hope that's okay with you guys. But Seymour Rivers, you're going to retire as the ebook champion, is the way I see it. Carrie Ellen Wilder, how you doing? How you doing? Hugs to everyone. Pablo Pina, Mr. Nguyen, Seppa J, Big Kenny Boy. Love that name. How you doing, Big Kenny Boy? Okay, so Patrick Gelpke, first time I've seen your name here. Welcome aboard. Again, go ahead and type in new and where you're from if you are new here. And if you do have questions, go ahead and start it off by typing in a big letter Q. And so that way Vincent and I can hopefully see it and get your question answered. Vincent is my colleague who is always here. So he's my eyes and ears. He lets me know what's going on. So Vincent, good morning to you as well. And let's see, always be funding. How you doing? Harsh Aurora. Okay, so all right, so let's get started here. Aloha and welcome to everyone. Again, thanks for being here. If you are new, we do hope that you will go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell to be notified. And thumbs ups are always appreciated. We really do appreciate those. They go a long way for us. You can always find us on social media. Silverbullion.com.sg is where you can find us. This is our website, .sg. We are in Singapore. And yes, we do sell silver and gold. We buy silver and gold. We store silver and gold, precious metals, platinum, palladium as well, even nickel. But more than that, we do specialize in wealth protection. And as I always say, we are going to need options. And for a lot of you folks out there, you absolutely are wide awake. You know exactly what is going on. And if you're looking for options, go ahead and contact us. Sales at silverbullion.com.sg. Go ahead and contact us, and we'll see, what things we have or what things you're looking for, and see if we can make that fit with you. Silver Bullion SG is where you can find us on Facebook. Silver Bullion PL for Private Limited is where you can find us on Twitter. Silver Bullion SG, Instagram, and audio versions bit.ly SBTV iTunes or SBTV Spotify for just the audio versions. And Crisis Tracker, if you have that Telegram group, or even if you don't, go ahead and download it. Telegram pretty much seems to be one of the more secure platforms for communicating. So go ahead and get that Telegram app and just search Crisis Tracker, one word, Crisis Tracker. And there you'll find Vincent and I. What we do is we go ahead and we post things pretty much daily, as things that pertain to perhaps all of us, whether it's economics, finance, gold and silver, things like that. So go ahead and join that group. And as I say, we kind of go through the weeds. We get down and dirty, go through the weeds, and try and dig out and sift through the news to find out what may be important for us. So again, and appreciate you all being here. We'll go ahead and take a look at upcoming guests. I think we got two very good guys that you'll all like. We're going to be having Andy Sheckman from Miles Franklin, and we're going to be having Tavi Costa from Crescat Capital. Many of you guys already know Andy. Prior to starting Miles Franklin in 1989, Andy became a licensed financial planner specializing in Swiss franc investments and alternative investments. At Miles Franklin, they've eclipsed 5 billion, and they have a really good culture there, operation that maintains trust. They collaborate with people, very ethical behavior, great customer service, and satisfaction is always what they're striving for. So he's responsible for overseeing the firm's operations and business functions, including strategy, planning, account management, finance, and new business. He's doing a lot there, and he's very in tune with what's going on anywhere and everywhere. And again, Otavio Costa, better known as Tavi Costa, portfolio manager at Crescat Capital. He's been with the firm for some 6 years, and he's built their macro model that identifies the current stage of the U.S. economic cycle through a combination of 16 factors. And his research is pretty important there. He's been featured in financial publications such as Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, CNN, Financial Post, The Globe, and Mail, along with Real Vision and Reuters. And he has played NCAA Division One tennis for Liberty University. So we got two great guys coming up. I do hope that you subscribe and hit that bell so we can let you know when these interviews are coming up. And as mentioned, we're kind of changing things around with the ebook giveaway. We're going to be giving away Amazon gift cards to our winners. So if you want one of these gift cards, I can tell you the answer is going to come from Chris Powell's interview. And the rules, well, you may not have to download that Kindle app since it's a gift card, but be one of the first five to correctly answer the question in this live stream before the timer runs out. And then we'll go ahead and give you a link to pick up that gift card. We may switch back to ebooks at some time, but we'll try this out for now. And non-US winners, if it were ebooks, you'll be given you may have to substitute your prize for something else, just to let you know ahead of time. And what you'll do is you'll have to provide us your email during this live stream, or you may have to contact us at sbtv at silverbullion.com.sg. So we'll see how this works out. So we'll go ahead and offer the question here. Let me just run through a few comments first. My colleague Vincent, yes, join that crisis tracker group. Why is this so small? Okay, so yeah, join that crisis tracker group. I'll have to figure out how I can make this thing a bit bigger. It's a little bit too small. Hang on, just give me a second here, guys. All right. Okay, so there we go. That's a little bit bigger. So yeah, go ahead and join our crisis tracker group. Sorry about that. Okay, so what? And these are great. Yeah, everybody slam that like button. Yes, appreciate that. That will help us out quite a bit. Thank you, Carrie Ellen. So let's move on to the question. And the question is going to come from that Chris Powell interview. So here we go. According to Chris Powell, if you can control the blank markets, you can control the world. All right. So we're looking for that answer, which came from the Chris Powell interview. So go ahead and give it your best shot. All in all, you'll have a minute and 30. Timer's already winding down. So just give it your best shot. Okay, let's see. Truth Monster, whiskey and dynamite. Okay, all right. We'll It's not the right answer, but we like it. Strongman Silver and Gold is saying the bond market. Okay, what else is out there? Paper markets. Big Kenny Boy, what else is out there? Go ahead and just give it your best guess. You never know. You never know. You might actually get it. So let's see. Jack P, debt markets. Always be funding. Capital markets. Okay, Jay Delaney, paper. Harold B, financial. Newspaper. Credit. Free. Financial. Okay, what else is out there? Let me just take a look. Some of the answers are pretty close, but I'm looking for the exact answer. Okay, I need the exact answer. Stock markets, financial markets, free markets. Keep on stacking. That might be the best answer there. Go ahead, give it your best shot. Timer's running out, and then we'll see what the answer is. It's currency. According to Chris Paul, if you can control the currency markets, you can control pretty much everything going on in the world. As we know, it's pretty much the U.S. dollar being the reserve currency. So, this time around, yeah, I didn't quite get it. I was really looking for currency. Things were kind of close, but not exactly there. So just to confirm that this was the answer, we'll go ahead and
The
take a look.
dollar controls the world. The dollar is the primary mechanism of U.S. imperialism in the world today. Nuclear weapons can only destroy the world. The control of the currency markets can control the world, can own the world. The control of the currency markets is control of the value of all capital, labor, goods, and services in the world. So how much trouble is the dollar in? It's in trouble mainly because gold is sitting there as the potential alternative to the dollar as the world reserve currency. Nothing else is going to do as a world reserve currency other than gold. It's a neutral potential world reserve currency. And the problem the central banks have is the imaginary gold supply now dwarfs the physical gold supply. There's estimates that there's 90 to 100 times more paper gold out there than there is real metal to back it up. Most of the gold the world thinks it owns doesn't exist. If that is discovered, if people start converting their paper gold into real metal, then probably the gold price will explode and take the government currencies down.
Okay, so the dollar controls the world. If you control the currency markets, you control the world. So yeah, I was kind of looking for the word currency there, but appreciate everyone chiming in. The thing is, if people start converting their paper gold into real metal, then probably the gold price will explode and take the government currencies down. Is what Chris is saying, and I think there's also multiples more paper gold than actual physical gold. So things just aren't adding up. Guys are really starting to see this. So it's something again, uh, you know, you really got to keep an eye on, and there are reasons why people may want to buy paper gold, but there are definitely reasons why you want to hold physical gold as well. I think most of us here understand, the differences between the two. Let me take a quick look at the comments here. Jay Delaney, I guess if someone said toilet paper, maybe that would have been the right answer. Maybe I would have taken it. But yeah, U.S. dollar, it's really really teetering nowadays, and yeah, I don't know, interesting times for sure. Pablo Pina, TP is a commodity. All right, we're on toilet paper this morning. That's good, or this evening. But let's take a look at a few other things that Chris Powell said.
I don't think the Fed's going to be destroyed, but I do think our current system of central banking is thoroughly corrupt. It doesn't serve the public interest. It serves certain moneyed interests and certain banking interests. Look, I know a lot of gold people don't think there should be central banks, think that there should be all sorts of private money, not just gold, but Bitcoin or baseball cards or whatever you want to use. I don't go that far. I think, though, that central banking, to be decent and democratic and serve the public, has got to be fully transparent. And every month, the Federal Open Market Committee in Washington and the Board of the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, they have secret meetings to determine the value of the money of the world, and in doing so, to determine the value of all capital, labor, goods, and services in the world. That's a totalitarian system. Let us in.
Let us in. Our current system of central banking is corrupt, but we do need one. This is Chris Powell's feelings here. But what's your opinion? Do we really need a central bank? Do we need a central bank? And how about if CBDC, sorry, central bank digital currencies, how about if they come in? Would we still need small local banks? And this is something I will just barely touch on more towards the end, where we do have Brainard, coming in, or potentially coming in. I do believe she's an MMTer, strong supporter of central bank digital currencies. And then we do have Omarova, um, strong supporter of the Fed, basically handling everything. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to your two comments on these two these two potential people who will create policy later on. So moving on, one more clip from Chris Paul.
My idea of justice isn't so much, putting the lower level traders in jail. It starts with exposing everything that's been going on and who's really been behind it and what government policy here really is. GATA and a U.S. representative from West Virginia, Alex Mooney, have put a key question to the CFTC several times over the last couple of years, and that is, does the Commission have jurisdiction over manipulative trading in the futures markets that is undertaken by the U.S. government itself or on behalf of the U.S. government through intermediary brokers? The CFTC refuses to answer that question, not just for GATA, but also for Representative Mooney. I think that gives the game away, that the futures markets are being manipulated by the U.S. government as a matter of policy.
Guilt by omission, maybe. That's what they say, right? Jail is not justice. Transparency is, according to Chris. Expose everything and what's really been going on, and who is behind things. And the futures markets are being manipulated by the U.S. government as a matter of policy. As a matter of policy, we know, there was the London gold pool way back when. We know, former presidents, they wanted to devalue the dollar by moving the gold price. We know other presidents felt, the gold being attached to the dollar was no good in a world that was being globalized. The world's reserve currency was limited due to being attached to gold. Politicians just don't have the responsibility to be attached to any type of a gold type of a system. So, I mean, it's U.S. government as a matter of policy is what Chris says, but he does say it for other reasons. So let's see what else is out there with your comments. Strongman, silver and gold. We don't need central banks. I'd rather see COMEX shut down. That's a good point. That is a good point. A lot of people are unhappy with comics. Well, some people are happy with it. Some people, they have issues with comics as to what's really going on there. And again, the paper markets, there's paper gold, paper silver. And some people want it simply because they feel, this is a easier way to make money, quicker to trade, and whatever else, don't have to deal with, the physical premiums and things like that. And then, like a lot of us out here, we'd rather, have the physical. We don't mind taking on the premiums because we want to have it and hold it as our own, and hopefully in our own name. So, Chris Paul, interesting with a lot of the things that he had to say there. So again, let me take a look at the comments. Manny Lewis, okay. Yeah, a lot of strong feelings about paper gold, a lot of strong feelings about comics and the Fed. I can see that there. So let me move on. I mean, we did also have Thomas Sayman, another person like Ali Shahadi, who was from Lebanon. And, an interesting thing that Thomas said was people were using Bitcoin. He seems to be a proponent of Bitcoin, taking a look at his tweets and things like that. And the point being, it was easy to transfer from person to person. It wasn't hyperinflating the same way the Lebanese lira was. And so people in Lebanon, they found that they did need an alternative currency to both the dollar and their own local currency. And they went ahead and started using Bitcoin. Um, but overall, I think the main point is options. Again, we're always going to need options, and as many of them as we can have. So, hope you had the chance to watch Thomas Sayman's interview as well, who is also from Lebanon, like Ali Shehadi. Moving on, let's go to Gerald Salente's Trends Journal. Four things I noticed were food prices, I quit, the great resignation, and a new class of employees. Food price index spikes 31%, put strain on shoppers. Food price index rose at an annual rate of 31% in October due to a plethora of reasons, including droughts, bad weather, and global supply chain issues. Henry K. I'm just going to say Henry K. Poland's agriculture minister told the Financial Times that a global food price crisis could be looming and could contribute to the strain on the global economy trying to emerge from the bug lockdowns. The report said these rising food costs combined with surging energy prices have the potential to imperil the livelihoods of millions of people around the globe. UN's Food and Agricultural Organization determined that the international prices of a basket of food are up 3% from September, and the price of wheat, important wheat, increased by 5%. That increase contributed to food prices hitting a 10-year high. Interesting to know in your area, are you seeing food prices rise as well, and by how much? But in the U.S., grocery prices in October increased by 5.4%, and overall inflation was 6.2%, according to the latest consumer price index. Tighter availability in global markets due to reduced harvests in major exporters, especially Canada, the Russian Federation, and the U.S., continue to put upward pressure on prices. Okay, this is pretty important here. Consumer pessimism resulted from an escalating inflation rate and the growing belief among consumers that no effective policies have yet been developed to reduce the damage from surging inflation. That's pretty important stuff here. A quarter of consumers responding to the survey said that inflation has forced them to reduce their living standards, with older and lower income consumers hit hardest. Although many consumers reported that their nominal incomes had risen, half said they expect inflation to reduce their actual purchasing power next year. So, are you guys seeing this? Are you seeing this? I mean, I know, in some places, especially the US, Thanksgiving is rolling around the corner, but are you folks seeing this? I quit. Record quit rates. Take your job and shove it. So on 5 November, 11.2 million U.S. jobs stood vacant, 50% more than the 7.4 million unemployed American workers, according to the employment website Indeed. 3% of the entire labor force, about 4.4 million workers, quit. They quit their jobs in September, a record number. More than 10 million jobs have remained open since June, the U.S. Labor Department reported. And the record number of open jobs before the bug era was 7.4 million, notched in November of 2019. The Labor Department noted the 4-week moving average of new weekly claims for unemployment benefits was 278,000 for the week ending 6 November, the lowest yet since the bug pretty much visited everyone back in March of 2020. These numbers, they do tell a story of a newly empowered labor force quitting. They're quitting low-paying jobs and finding ones paying better, striving for better compensation for their current or from their current employers, or reconsidering their career path. Now, this is interesting, where guys are leaving jobs. I mean, I know they have that $15 minimum wage. So what's going to happen? Is it going to have to be $20 minimum for people to come in? Who knows? We'll see what happens. And for lower skilled workers, in certain jobs in the past, employers normally could count on unemployed to knock on the doors. Now they try to lure workers away from their current jobs by offering higher pay and better working conditions. The vast majority of the quitting we've seen since 2021 has been job switching. Indeed, economist Nick Bunker told the Wall Street Journal industries that usually hire people out of work may have shifted their approach towards poaching. Poaching. Any of you out there being poached? How's it going? In February of 2020, actually, I shouldn't laugh about poaching. I mean, I know it does go around. But if you're skilled, who knows? You may have your door being knocked on instead of you having to knock on someone else's door. But in February of 2020, under 2% of open jobs not needing degrees mentioned starting bonuses. Now more than twice as many do. Indeed's posting show according to the Wall Street Journal. The Great Resignation. This is also pretty interesting here. About 4.43 million Americans quit their jobs in September. Quit, which is the most on record since December of 2000 in a shift that some have called the Great Resignation. According to the Labor Department, resignations were seen as a positive sign for the jobs market due to the optimism these workers have that they'll land on their feet with another job. Resignations were announced at the same time that the University of Michigan reported that its consumer sentiment index sank to 66.8%, which is the lowest, or the index number, which is the lowest reading since November of 2011. Richard Curtin, the survey's chief economist, blamed an escalating inflation rate and the growing belief among consumers that no effective policies have yet been developed to reduce the damage from surging inflation. Again, I think people are looking for relief here, and I don't think people are buying anything that is being told them right now, especially when that word transitory still floats around. A price index increased by 6.2% year over year in October, which marks a nearly 31-year high. About 25% of consumers said they will reduce their living standards in order to make up for the price increases. Um, the report said an increase in hourly earnings, which rose almost 5% in October. It's just not keeping up with inflation. So I think you folks get it. I'll just kind of skim through. It's been reading this for a bit here, but a new class of employees. This is pretty important as well because guys aren't taking jobs. Employers need workers. Companies are making industrial robots to field orders for about 29,000. They're having about 29,000 machines being made, worth almost $1.5 billion through the year, besting 2017's record. So they're looking for robots, according to the Association of Advancing Automation, or A3. With labor shortages, manufacturing, logistics, and virtually every industry, companies of all sizes are increasing, turning to robotics and automation to stay productive and competitive. Moving on, growth in orders outside the vehicle industry outpaced that within the car business. And companies ordered just shy of 10,000 robots in the third quarter, of which 6,300 were for non automotive industries. A lot of times robots were used in the automotive industry, but they're coming out. They're flipping burgers and everything else now. So most were for the metals industry. Hey, maybe I'm going to be replaced too, which ordered almost three times as many robots in the same period the year before. Okay, so that'll wrap up a look at Trends Journal. Vincent, are you out there? Am I going to be replaced by a robot? It said the metals industry, right? So just let me know ahead of time. All right, thanks, Vincent. So okay, that was our look back at guests we had. So let me take a look at a few of the comments here. Um, let's see, Carrie Ellen Wilder. Most workers in my area are being forced out of their jobs. Forced out of their jobs by, yeah, the poke. Most prefer living to a job. That's a good point too. Um, Guys are leaving their jobs, and that is also causing some havoc with the supply chain. Truckers leaving their jobs and things like that. So that's a good point. It's a good point. Let me take a look at other comments here. Um, let's see. Uh, let's see. Bacon, bacon prices rising. Okay. Um, Last living old cowboy. I want $5 silver again. Um, we all do. I think we all want it. If silver went down to $5, would you throw in the hat on silver and gold, or would you be out there backing up the truck? I think I would be backing up the truck. I think I would be taking my neighbor's trucks as well. Um, that's how much I think a lot of us do believe in silver here. Patrick Bateman, yes. Flippy, Flippy the robot, absolutely. And this is part of the problem. You're going to raise that minimum wage. Um, you're going to get what you want. You wanted a higher minimum wage, you may get it, but your job might not be there. So there's always trade offs to everything. So see what happens. Um, okay, they all right. So let's move on to our website, silverbullion.com.sg. And I think, as some of you folks know, we opened up our shop over in Millennial Walk, especially for you guys in Singapore. Come and visit us at Millennial Walk. We are open. Come down. Let's just play this short clip so we can share this with you. We're pretty happy to finally be to make that move from where we were to a new building. So let's go ahead and play this clip. Yeah, so that's our shop over in Millennial Walk. Hope to see some of you guys there. Welcome back. We'll be happy to see some of you folks again. And taking a look at the silver and gold price, we're seeing silver at 24.77 US dollars. It was at 25. It kind of went back down again. Gold 18.46, but at least both metals are back up on the move. Silver to gold ratio, looking at the chart, 74.6. Be nice to see silver back down, or this chart back down again in the low 70s, high 60s. But for now, 74.6. It is a time more than likely for you to be buying silver over gold if you're really, if you're trying to decide between the two metals which to buy. It is a time to buy silver, being that silver is undervalued relative to gold. Products we have, saw some of them there: 1 kilogram gold bars, 1,000 ounce LBMA bars, 100-gram bars are pretty popular. And of course, nickel. Nickel is a key component in electric vehicle batteries. If you want price exposure to nickel, the physical metal, and own the physical metal, this is what you'd want to be looking at: nickel here. Anyway, let's take a look at the 1,000 ounce LBMA bars. We have currently 367 available in the vault, where you can buy it, own it, and store it in the vault. And for people that are thinking of going down to our new shop, give us about a week, because what we're going to do is transfer, more than likely transfer some of these over from the vault into the shop, so you can go ahead and pick it up in the new shop if you'd like. Just make sure to bring a trolley. If you are interested in storing in the vault, you would go ahead and click on there, store in the vault, and you would have to sign up as a silver bullion user. And it's pretty straightforward. 6 different accounts: personal, joint, a trust account, joint account with a minor, business account, and a retirement account for those of you who are looking at a precious metals IRA. We do have retirement accounts, and we can help you through that. And again, the easiest one probably to go ahead and fill out is a personal account. But just to give you an idea of what type of information that would be needed for a personal account anyway: basic information, name, where you live, your preferred currency in case you're storing metals with us and you want to sell it. So that way we can sell it back or send the currency back to your bank account. And very basic information. You just need to fill out an application and give us some type of identification, usually a passport, perhaps a driver's license would do. And importantly, don't forget to click on YouTube SBTV. That helps us out. We appreciate it. We hope you do sign up for these accounts. They are free. There's no charge to maintain these accounts. And go ahead, and I would suggest you click on receive customer notifications via encrypted secure notification. What this basically means is when we need to contact you, you'll just get an email from us saying that you have an email from us. We don't put anything in the body of the email, so everything remains safe, secure. Google, Yahoo, none of these guys are able to have their automated employees go ahead and take a look at what we're discussing. So again, do type on encrypted secure notification. Sign up for that account. It is free. It's a free account. So again, Uh, do hope to see some of you signing up here. Twitter. Let's see what's going on with Twitter. Um, J.P. Morgan. That'll show them they'll never do it again. J.P. Morgan, our friends, to pay 60 million to settle a precious metals spoofing lawsuit. Interesting. Chris Paul and I just had this conversation. A spoofing lawsuit, and they're going to be fined 60 million. Yeah, 60 million, where they're making hundreds of billions, perhaps, or millions at least. I don't think it's really going to hurt them too much. So, all right. Every time you buy silver, okay, how did this? Every time you buy silver, well, you may be kind of giving that guy a little bit of how you let him know how you feel there. California, drivers blocked the highway to collect bills that had fallen from an armored car. The door of that car was carrying cash and was accidentally opened for an unknown reason. Drivers passing by began to collect money and record videos. Is this true? I mean, it must be true. That's an awful lot. That's a big production to stage there. So I don't know if there's time for any of you guys to in California to head out to that road and pick up the cash. But you know, maybe you might want to get on Twitter and ask your friends if it's still out there. Cash on the road. So much for helicopter money. They'll just dump it out of the truck. So silver will be part of the electric vehicle revolution, and nickel is poised to become a precious metal for EVs, electric vehicles. Nickel is one of the key metals that make electric vehicles move. And this is because Apple is reportedly revving up electric vehicle plants. Apple is going to get in the game. So again, you have Amazon with Rivian creating a fleet of delivery trucks. You have Apple getting involved. You have Tesla getting involved. A lot of companies are getting involved. We'll touch on that down the road in this live stream. Hillary Clinton, crypto can destabilize nations and undermine U.S. dollar dominance. Hillary Clinton says consensus was this was hilarious. I mean, we're seeing how crypto is actually helping some nations. And as far as undermining the U.S. dollar, well, I think the Federal Reserve and the government is already doing that on their own. So a lot of people disagree with what Hillary is saying. Haven't seen her in a while. Good to see her again, right? Okay, moving on. The Great Resignation, which we just talked about, it's driven entirely by this one demographic, and that is, of course, the older. Actually, two. It's the older generations who are leaving, resigning, and the younger guys. You know, they're finding their value and worth by moving around from job to job. So it's more than just one demographic from what I see. And this one here, the moment the world was taken over while we were playing a happy tune. You know, because sometimes it's kind of like this, you know. The world seemed to have been going one way and everybody was okay, and then things happened and it's like someone just kind of cut in and took over. Like this guy here. He just kind of took over and leading us down a different path. And the reason why I wanted to put this on is because it kind of feels like this is where we are today. You know, being led on all these different paths, and that guy, you know, he clears the house and gets out of there, and the rest of us were kind of stuck just going into that wall. I don't know why the clip ended. Anyway, and then we have Omarova. I think you guys have heard a lot about this lady. I'll be looking for your opinions later. You know, she definitely wants the Fed to control things, to do away with the smaller private banks. So she's an interesting person, very interesting person for sure. Tavi Costa, who's going to be coming up as well, has this nice chart here where silver is at the center of so many things. You know, it's an inflationary asset. The green revolution will involve silver. It is a monetary metal, and historically, it is undervalued. And that's why a lot of people like you and me, why we do like our silver. And I guess we can kind of end it there. And that was pretty much a look at Twitter. want to get back to your comments here. Um, Ask her how she destabilized Libya. Yeah, we'll try and get her. Vincent, can we get Hillary on one day? I mean, I think that'd be pretty cool if we could get Hillary on. So let's try and get Hillary on. I think you folks would enjoy seeing her again, right? Okay, so what else is out there? Belly dance, Rabia art. That seems to be the sentiment. Soulless. She's very, very stiff. Almost even soulless, like what you said. But I'm interested to see what you folks, have to say about her. So anyway, let's move on a bit. Let's just get on to the topic of the day, and it's the Biden infrastructure bill. It became law, and is this a good thing, bad thing? Is it a non-event? Um, it's been on the radar for quite some time, and there are some strong and some mixed feelings, of course, about what I call the Hooden plan. It's part Hoover with all this infrastructure stuff going on. It's Biden, of course. It's Hoodenomics is what I chose to call it, and that's the concern. How is all of this going to be paid? Hooden is going to be paying for all of this. I think we kind of know the answer anyway. Equally important, what will be the effects? What will be the effects? Have we seen this before? Have we seen it before? It's the blueprint to the blues, or it could very well be the blueprint to the blues. So let's get into it and take a look at a few clips with this Biden infrastructure bill.
Hi, Shep. Good evening. About half of the $1.2 trillion package is new federal spending beyond what's authorized each year to pay for normal maintenance of highways and waterways. That includes $284 billion for roads, bridges, freight and passenger rail and public transit, and $266 billion for what's called core infrastructure. That's power, water, and new broadband across the country. Leftover COVID relief money and tax enforcement on crypto gains are offsetting the cost. But the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says it will add $256 billion to the federal deficit over 10 years.
Hey, not so fast, my friend. Did she just say new federal spending? This is new federal spending. Hey, we're already, 27, 20, whatever it is, trillion in debt. Why not? Let's go a bit deeper. New federal spending, leftover bug relief money. Leftover money. Yeah, we're so much trillions in debt, and we have leftover money and tax enforcement on crypto gains. This is pretty important. The leftover money, yeah, we all got leftover money lying around, right? But a government trillions in debt has leftover money lying around. I mean, I guess Uncle Sam, found some money in his pockets when he was doing the wash, or he found some money in that sofa, which he's just kind of lying on and watching old reruns of Jerry Springer. I don't know what's Uncle Sam doing here, but found some leftover money. Amazingly, leftover money. And crypto gains. And I mean, I don't mean to be a bit harsh on this, but those of you who follow this program, I've said for a long time that when crypto guys, they say gold can be confiscated and crypto cannot. I've said for a while, crypto will be confiscated through taxes and other things. Now, we know the taxes are coming, but the other things, what are they? That's the spooky part. What are going to be the other things? Whatever they think, or, whatever they think of to take your possessions is never, ever,
ever, ever, ever, ever, ever, ever, ever
going to be good. It's never going to be a good thing. Even Smokey knows that. Make sure you have options. We all are going to need options, without a doubt. So another clip from Biden.
To steer that money through the agencies to the right projects at the state and local level, the White House appointed former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu as senior advisor and infrastructure coordinator. Landrieu shepherded grants and fast-tracked projects during the city's rebuilding after Hurricane Katrina. Celebrating on the South Lawn today, more than 800 attendees, the president and his cabinet flanked by lawmakers, labor unions, business groups, donors, checking off part one of Mr. Biden's economic agenda and hoping it provides momentum on a second $1.75 trillion social and climate package. The law is a critical win for President Biden, who campaigned on his ability to build consensus and broker deals across the aisle. But it also underscores the Biden foreign policy doctrine: competing from a position of strength at home.
Did you catch that? Part one. Part one of the Biden agenda. Part two, the social and climate package. Okay, part one, part two. And how will this pass? It is going to pass because the U.S. needs to show strength. It's really never been, in my opinion, this is purely my opinion here, it's never been as weak in my lifetime other than Mr. Peanut. And politicians are going to do what politicians do. Mr. Peanut referring to Jimmy Carter. Yes, I am that old. Should Biden's plans get baffled, there will be finger pointing for sure, only it won't be the pointer finger. The U.S. is now being fed the narrative of, in showing a strong president, it shows a strong U.S. to the rest of the world. And this is why they need everyone to unite. And this is how things are going to get passed. The U.S. is not in a good position. They're going to have to show some type of political strength where everyone stands behind the president. I'm not so sure his ratings are pretty low there. But my question is, if you need to show your president is strong, doesn't it mean he's kind of weak? I mean, if he were strong, that would just resonate, everywhere. But if you need to show he's strong, then what's resonating is he may be pretty weak. Moving on, one more clip.
The timing of the bill signing, followed by tonight's bilateral summit with China's President Xi. No coincidence, Shep.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Kayla, what are the takeaways we're expecting from this upcoming meeting?
Well, Shep, the White House says don't expect much. There are no quote-unquote deliverables that are expected from this meeting. But a senior administration official said that President Biden initiated this conversation, this dialogue with China, as a way to avoid confrontation as the U.S. tries to seek cooperation on issues like trade and climate, but also calls out China on the world stage for some of its behavior and actions related to Taiwan, technology, and human rights. As for what Beijing plans to raise, today the White House said, wait and see.
Wait and see. In other words, he doesn't know. He just doesn't know. All right, I'm sorry, I'm kind of ragging on what's going on there. But now I get it. Okay, I get it. The U.S. has never had to do an infrastructure makeover. Why? Because they didn't need to show strength in this manner. There was no China to compete with. However, it's on the rise. We all know this. It's on the rise. And the world sees polished, spectacular innovation and transportation with China. And an old, cracking, dilapidated, in-debt country teetering complete corruption with the U.S. And I mean, let's be honest here. I know, a lot of people have issues, as far as human rights here and there and things like that. But sticking really with this, because we're talking more or less the infrastructure plan here. It does seem like, U.S. is on the heels right now. We're trying to catch up. We're watching other countries grow and prosper and move forward, and we're really on our heels right now, and there's a lot of concern with being on our heels. And so, as we move forward, the question I leave to you as we go on: is this about Build Back Better, or is it a global show of almost desperation, almost to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm still number one," or is something a little bit more sinister afoot here? Hoo-denomics, where Hoover and Biden meet. So let's go under the hood here. So, sorry about that. I think, I should be here. So let's take a look at Market Watch. And the good news, I did get a subscription now to at least Market Watch. So we won't lose our news feeds. We'll always have it, and won't get any more surprises where we're locked out. Biden signs bipartisan infrastructure bill into law authorizing big spending on roads, broadband, EV chargers, and more. EV chargers meaning electric vehicle chargers. You can never get EVs going if you don't have chargers throughout the world, throughout the nation, throughout the world as well, perhaps. So President Biden, last week signed signed into law a bipartisan infrastructure bill delivering long-awaited spending on roads, bridges, broadband, EVs, and other things. Hopes for more infrastructure spending often have been dashed in recent years, turning Infrastructure Week into a joke in Washington, but the country's politicians delivered at last this fall. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so you can see it here. Okay, so moving forward, here in Washington, we've heard countless speeches and promises and white papers from experts, but today we're finally getting this done. Biden said in a speech shortly before putting his signature on that paper. His message to the people: we're moving again. Your life is going to change for the better. Your life is going to change for the better. How do you folks feel about that? Measure has an overall price tag of about $1 trillion, with around $550 billion in new public works spending, above what was expected in future federal investments. It outlays include $110 billion for roads, bridges, major projects, $66 billion for passenger and freight rail, $65 billion broadband, and $7.5 billion for charging stations and electric vehicles. Couple links here. Here's what the bipartisan infrastructure bill is and how it's paid for. Infrastructure bill, let's just take a look at how it's paid for, who pays for it. Okay, so again, he signed this into law. This is if you ever rode on this, it's pretty cool machine to ride on, where it drops the asphalt for you to go ahead and repave the roads. It's a pretty cool machine. Anyway, the bipartisan infrastructure package finally was enacted. We know this. We know that. But how is it going to get paid? Below is the visual breakdown for the infrastructure package, as Biden and his fellow Democrats now focus on advancing their party's $1.75 trillion social spending and climate bill, known as the Build Back Better plan. So let's see if we can where this hang on, where'd it go? Let me switch over to hang on here. There should have been a chart, excuse me guys. Okay, maybe something changed. Okay, let me move on. Sorry about that. Again, who pays for it? We already know it's going to be us. So let me move on to the next clip. And one of those things that are going to come in, basically, it's going to be paid by the wealthiest. The top 1-2% are going to be paying, and they're going to be looking at crypto gains and other investment gains to pay for this infrastructure bill. That's basically what it is. But one thing they're looking at with it is also chargers. They're looking to charge the electric vehicle adoption. Okay, they need to have all these chargers put in there for the cars to run, which is what I was saying earlier. So again, billions of dollars are earmarked. And again, this is why take a look at nickel, because again, nickel is the metal that goes in the batteries for a lot of these cars. And if adoption's coming in, you're going to see more and more EVs coming in, electric vehicles coming in, and you're going to see that demand for nickel really start to shoot up. So the goal is to make EVs convenient enough for customers to consider them. Okay, that's what the goal is right now. The recent approved bill, which Biden is slated to sign into law, set aside some $7.5 billion for EV charging. Okay, this is mostly for charging, right? Because we need the chargers. And Rivian stocks, they just went up the other week. They've gone down a bit. But more importantly, here's I think some of the car makers that are really going to have to get into EV, where you have General Motors. Let me switch articles here. These are the major car makers, and they're going to have to move with the adoption rates. You have Audi. They're going to be making electric vehicle batteries up to 35% of its fleet, I believe. Yeah, they're going to be building more. Sorry about that, guys. BMW from Germany was among the first EV innovators. It launched its i3 compact EV 8 years ago, if you can believe that. They were still are a serious competitor to Tesla. BMW's EV pipeline has slowed, but the automaker has promised that 25% of its European sales will be all electric and hybrid vehicles, okay, by 2030. And you have Daimler, Mercedes. expects that between 15 and 25% of its sales will be comprised of EVs by 2025, and by 2030, they're looking at 50% of their cars are going to be EVs. And then you have Ford. They've said that 40% of its global sales by 2030 will be EVs. So again, Ford pushing up their EV production line. And yeah, so you have a lot of those guys, and again, bigger names like GM. GM is saying that it'll offer 30 all electric models globally by mid decade. Mid decade's pretty close, and that 40% of the US company's models will be battery electric vehicles. So you guys kind of get it. Honda, Hyundai, Mazda, Nissan, all of these, all car makers are going to start stepping up their EV production, and this is going to bring in a lot of EV adoption. Okay, so this is all part of that infrastructure bill. It's basically a lot of spending here. A lot of spending is going to go on. A lot of changes are going to go on. But the question is, are we going to see inflation? You know, with what Biden plans to do, are we going to see inflation? I mean, I think yes, without question. But what do you think? Do you think we're going to see inflation? I'll run through some comments after this. I personally think we're going to see inflation. And why do I say that? We got a lot of money floating out there. And when these infrastructure jobs come in, anybody who's worked construction or union type of a job, you know that you got some job security 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is with a government contract. So you have job security, you're going to have better pay. So what happens? You're going to go out and buy things. Maybe you're going to get a home if you can. Homes are absolutely off the charts right now. But you have some job security, you're going to have money, you're going to spend it. Okay, you are going to spend it, you're going to see that velocity of money pick up. And regardless of whether, put it this way, the supply chains stay as they are, you're really going to see it. If even if they should get better, you're getting more people back to work with more money. They're going to spend more. You're going to see that inflation kick in anyway. So I personally do think you're going to see inflation, but I'm more curious what you folks think. So let me go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here. Um, Patrick Bateman, Ford or GM will be bankrupt in 48 years or 4 to 8 years, but the government will bail them out. Could be. Who knows? Pablo Pina by Copper. You know, they call this the electrification of everything with what's going on. And a lot of guys are looking at copper. You know, besides copper, of course, silver, they are looking at things like nickel, but copper is on the radar as well. So that's a good point there. What else is out there? Yeah, I can see a lot of you folks are looking at copper. Rosebud 39, new from Palm Springs, California. How you doing? Thanks for joining us, Rosebud. Did you just get back? Did you from picking up that money on the freeway there? I know you guys had that that armored car that mysteriously had its door open and money flew out. So glad you had time to make it back from getting the free cash and join us. How you doing? Let's see what else out there. Let's see. Yeah, Michael Cole. How am I defining it? I simply define it as prices going up. I mean, I'm not. Is it velocity of money? Is it money printing? Is it this? I'm really just the guy on the street. I look at it as if prices are rising and I'm having a hard time keeping up with it, or if I'm losing money on bonds or things like that, then I look at it as that's inflation enough for me. I mean, anything that starts to eat away at my purchasing power, um, that's I just look at it as if it's really getting excessive, then for me that's I would already call it inflation. I don't necessarily define it as a specific type of a metric. It's just really what I see. How far is my money going, and what I see. I mean, very very basic, basic, because that's what matters to us the most. How much are things, our food, electricity, transportation. Those are the things that matter. So good question. Thanks for asking that. Let's see. Ace is up. Silver inflation is here now. Digital dollar, I assume is coming soon. Yeah, yeah. We'll touch on that for sure as well. Um, okay, so let me move on a bit. So there are guys who are saying, it's not inflationary. This plan is not going to be an inflationary thing. As this article from Reuters points out, So let me get here. Exclusive rating agencies say Biden's spending plans will not add to inflationary pressure. Right. So he's okay. We know this part here: 1.75 trillion. Build back better. Um, so they're saying the two pieces of legislation should not have any real material impact on inflation. And I think this is true today, but I think in time, once this kicks in, I think we will see it. But nonetheless, the impact of the spending packages on the fiscal deficit will be rather small because they will be spread over a relatively long time horizon. That is true. I'd have to agree with that. That's true. Senator Joe Manchin, a centrist Democrat, has previously raised inflationary concerns in relation to Biden's social spending plan with a report earlier this month suggesting he may delay the passage of the Build Back legislation. Again, he has inflationary concerns. The bills do not add inflation or to inflation pressures as the policies help to lift long-term economic growth via stronger productivity and labor force growth, and thus take the edge off inflation. So that's what they say, and it's true to a point because it is going to be spread out over time. But in that time, you're going to have guys who have stable jobs, and they are going to be spending more. So I do see inflation here. But anyway, I'm not one of these professional guys here, but basically they're saying it's not going to affect anything. The bills are largely paid through higher taxes on multinational corporations and well-to-do households, and more than paid for if the benefit of the added growth and the resulting impact on the government's fiscal situation are considered. Okay, so let me move on here. They say inflation is a hidden taxation, and you and we're already paying this. And Hoo-denomics, sorry, I just get stuck on that word. It's about you and me. It is about you and me, and you and I are going to pay the taxes for these projects, whether it's inflation, whether it's through new taxes or whatever it is. And we're going to pay for it again when we go back to work and build all these things via a payroll tax. They'll get us there as well. And whatever the deductions are, I mean, these things that they're going to get us. They'll find a way to pay for the bill. They will find a way. They will find a way to pay for it. And think about this though. When your company has a 10-year government contract, this is what I've been saying, that will offer higher paying jobs, and you are going to spend more. Okay, you feel safe. You're going to have good pay, job security. You're going to spend. You will spend. And these products that more than likely can only be products that can be used on, that are going to be used on the projects more than likely are going to have to be made in the USA type of products. Whether it's pipes for the plumbing or whatever it is, I can almost guarantee you it's going to have to be made in the USA products. This almost always happens on government contracts. So then what happens? I remember projects we would get piping from Mexico, cheaper, and you're told no, you can't. You have to get it made in the USA. And then what happens? The price of your materials that you're using goes up, and that budget goes up. So I think even when the projects are being built, you're going to see these prices being inflated by things like having to be made in the USA. So again, this is why I personally do think you're going to see inflation. So with the money circulating and circulating for a longer time, and the cost of things being made locally being higher, why wouldn't there be inflation? So none of this really makes monetary sense to me, at least, coming out and spending all of this money, but the country does need to be fixed up. But spending all this money, I don't know. I really do see it happening, the inflation. And someone else who doesn't think any of this makes monetary sense, of course, is Peter Schiff. So let me play a clip from one of his recent podcasts.
They just passed the $1.25 trillion infrastructure bill. The ink is barely dry on that. That money's going to be spent. It's going to be printed. And now they're arguing over the $1.75 trillion Build Back Better bill. These are bills designed to increase aggregate demand. They are Keynesian stimuluses for a weak economy, not what they consider an overheated economy. We're violating Keynes's own playbook. Even though Keynes is a bunch of nonsense, these morons can't even follow that nonsense. So there is no school of monetary thought. Monetarism, Keynesianism, supply-siders, Austrian, where I subscribe. There is no school of thought that would advocate the current policy. Every economic discipline would look at the situation and say the government is doing the wrong thing, right? What the government is doing is going to throw gasoline on an inflationary fire, yet that is exactly what we're doing.
Okay, so to agree with what Peter had to say, I mean, here's the thing: Biden is looking to do more or less the same things that Hoover did with building America, employing America. Although, unlike Hoover, and this is the key difference, unlike Hoover in his time, there were no jobs for people. So Hoover created these things to get people back to work. Government created jobs. Today, government is going to create jobs, but there are differences. There are jobs that people don't want them. They don't want the jobs, and this is key, and it's a huge difference. People, they don't want the jobs, and so really, on one side, like I've been saying, Hoover, people were looking for work. This time around, people aren't exactly looking for work, and you're going to create all this work. You're going to have to bring them in somehow to work, and that probably means more wages and things like that. So it's a key difference, and I want to show you something that was in Hoover's mind at that time. Banking Acts of 1932. So two pieces of legislation were signed by President Hoover in early 1932 to address concerns about the Federal Reserve's structure and mission. Let me go ahead and make this a bit larger for you. Okay, so a close connection existed between the principal banking acts passed in 32, the Reconstruction Finance Corporation Act, signed by Hoover on January 22nd, subtitled an act to provide emergency financing facilities for financial institutions to aid in financing agricultural commerce and industry. This part here, to provide emergency financing facilities for financial institutions. How many times have we heard Powell come on and say this phrase over and over and over again, to provide emergency financing facilities for financial institutions? And we're kind of seeing this again for different reasons, but it's the same thing, providing emergency facilities. We've seen it over and over already. And to improve the facilities of the Federal Reserve System for the service of commerce, industry, and agriculture, to provide means for meeting the needs of member banks in exceptional circumstances. So nothing new under the sun. We're seeing this again. And the acts responded to concerns about the structure and mission of the Federal Reserve that arose during the economic contraction of the early 1930s. So are we in an economic contraction again? Debatable, but I'd say yes. Congress gave the Federal Reserve multiple missions. One was to act as a lender of last resort, which would extend loans to banks during financial panics. Another included providing an elastic currency. Congress also intended for the Federal Reserve to carry out its mission in a manner consistent with the maintenance of the gold standard. Again, this is back in 32. The Federal Reserve's leaders disagreed on how to prioritize those missions and the appropriate response to the economic contraction of the 1930s. The 12 Federal Reserve banks could not agree on a course of action and lacked some legal powers that would have enabled them to act more effectively, and the Federal Reserve Board in Washington lacked the authority to dictate nationwide policies, the power to act on its own, and a clear vision about how to counteract the Depression, even if it had the power to act. Now, today it's a bit different. They seem to have more power to act. But nonetheless, I just want to get down to this part here. And I'll show you another article as to what was in Hoover's mind. Some members of the Federal Reserve Board, the leaders of the Federal Reserve Banks of Atlanta, New York, a majority in Congress, and much of the American public wanted the Federal Reserve to respond more vigorously to the deepening downturn. They're looking to them for help. And many wanted the Fed to extend additional credit to member banks, expand the monetary base, and provide liquidity. All sounds familiar to all financial markets. acting as the nationwide lender of last resorts. Others, including some members of the Federal Reserve Board and leaders of several Federal Reserve banks, prominent businesses and financial executives, academics or academic economists and policymakers such as Senator Carter Glass, yes, the same Carter Glass from the Glass-Steagall Act, resisted these proposals because they believed these policies would prolong the contraction or generate inflation, leading to even larger future booms and busts. So it kind of seems like they already knew they were already they already knew what was going on. And let me show you this article here. This one really this is important. Hoover on the Great Depression and the New Deal. All right, so the stock market crashed October 24, 1929, less than 8 months into Herbert Hoover's presidency. Now, most experts including Hoover, thought the crash was part of a passing recession, transitory recession perhaps, but by July of 31, when the president wrote this letter to a friend, Governor Lewis Emerson of Illinois, it had become clear that excessive speculation and the worldwide economic slowdown had plunged America into the midst of a Great Depression, while Hoover wrote to Emerson that considerable continuance of destitution over the winter and perhaps longer was unavoidable. And he was trying to get machinery of the country into action. Since the crash, Hoover worked ceaselessly trying to fix the economy. He founded government agencies, including or encouraged labor harmony, supported local aid for public works, fostered cooperation between government and business in order to stabilize prices. And he struggled to balance the budget. And his work focused on indirect relief from individual states and the private sector, as reflected in this letter's emphasis on supporting each state committing more effectively and volunteerism, appealing for funds outside the government. Let me get to the main part here. Now, what Hoover kind of feared was, as the Depression became worse, however, calls grew for increased federal intervention and spending, but Hoover refused to involve the federal government enforcing fixed prices, controlling businesses, or manipulating the value of the currency, all of which he felt were steps toward socialism. Okay, so that is what Hoover felt at that time, and this is a lot of what we are seeing today. Hoover felt it was going to take us on a path to socialism. He was inclined to give indirect aid to banks or local public works projects, but he refused to use federal money for direct aid to citizens, believing the dole would weaken public morale. Instead, he focused on volunteerism to raise money. Hoover's opponents painted him as uncaring toward the common citizen, and we saw this happening in D.C. Now, even though he was, in fact, a philanthropist and a progressive before becoming president, during his reelection campaign, Hoover tried to convince Americans that the measures they were calling for might seem to help in the short term. It might help in the short term, but would be ruinous in the long term. He asserted that he cared for the common Americans too much to destroy the country's foundations with deficits and social institutions, and he was soundly defeated by Roosevelt in 32. I guess people were just really looking for that short term and not thinking about the long term. And in a letter to a friend written several months after he left office, Hoover expressed his fears about the flurry of New Deal legislation. Hoover saw the country already going sour on the New Deal. He believed revolution inevitable unless there is a halt to the fundamental changes in government and the deficit spending. Roosevelt's reforms had led Americans to cast off all moorings. This sounds familiar. And Hoover predicted that the U.S. would veer dangerously to the left, followed by a reaction leading to some American interpretation of Hitler or Mussolini. In 1934, after 2 years out of the public eye, Hoover made these same thoughts public in an article titled the challenge to liberty. When I came across that, when I started doing research on the infrastructure bill becoming a law, I was looking into all of the things that the plan was about, what it was supposed to be, and then it came across Hoover. Or I actually had to take a look at Hoover because I felt the two were more or less pretty similar. And when I came across these things that Hoover had said, it really does send a bit of chills up and down your spine. Where what Hoover said, like the guy or not, we're kind of seeing it today. And we are kind of on that path of what Hoover had, what he had warned about. But Hoover warned too much intervention would lead to socialism. He even went so far as to call it the American interpretation of Hitler or Mussolini. And w- we're pretty much there, or we're seeing it unfold, or we're at the very least on the path. We are on the path for these things. The crazy thing, after Hoover did all this infrastructure, build America, create jobs, Hoover Dam, of course, things like that. And then we had Franklin Roosevelt, the same president who enacted gold appropriation. So after, Hoover did all of this stuff, next guy comes in and he confiscates gold. But what are we seeing today? They're not even talking about confiscating gold. They're talking about taxing cryptos and even unrealized gains. So, I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys like to say, Bitcoin is the new gold or whatever it is. Be careful. Be careful what you wish for. Just be careful. Anyway, as I always say, nothing new under the sun, except this time they may not have to confiscate gold, really, because why bother? They're going to take your cash, they're going to take your coin, they're going to give us central bank digital currencies. They're looking already creating regulations or taxations on crypto. This is where we are today. And as Hoover warned and foresaw, socialist policies will come into play, making you dependent on your government for basically your very existence. I'll say it again, there's absolutely nothing new under the sun. Nonetheless, to add on to this, we need to keep an eye and ear open to Leo Brainard. I do believe she's an MMTer who also said the dollar is very dominant in international payments, and if you have the other major jurisdictions in the world with a digital currency, a CBDC offering, and the US doesn't have one, I just can't wrap my head around that, she said. It just doesn't make or sound like a sustainable future to me. So absolutely, she is on board with central bank digital currencies. And it's kind of interesting because we've heard Powell time and time and time again saying, we're studying it, we're studying it, we're studying it, we're studying central bank digital currencies, but it's never pulled the trigger yet. And here we have Brainard. If she should take that position, she's fully on board. And she's fully on board. I don't think it would take too long for her, if she's in, to go ahead and make it a reality. And then we have Sally Omarova. She basically wants the Fed to control it all, and is fully on board with the CBDC as well. So I'm more curious, what do you guys think? Especially with Omarova, she's basically looking at eliminating the banks that are in between you and the Fed, and the Fed basically controls it all. And the reason for that is because it's easier for the Fed to enact their or enforce their monetary policy if a few of the banks are out of the way, if cash and coin is out of the way. You have your Fed digital wallet, which, if you remember, was already going through Congress. There were bills before Congress where the Fed was going to create a digital wallet for everyone. So these things they're already on the move, already planned. So, with Hoover warning about socialism and the things that are happening, which is why he was warning about it. And then we see, these two individuals uh, going to be very close to our money creation, what they want to do. We need options. I mean, I can't say it any other way except we're going to need options. But anyway, let me end that topic of the day with that. I'll move on to commentary, but I want to take a look at what you folks had to say here. Um, let's see. Belly Dance, Rabia R. CBDC will not last more than a decade. You think something else is going to come in? or oh, what are you seeing? Interesting. That's I've never heard anyone say that it won't last that long. So I thought that's like the final the final thing. Interested though. Interested what you see there. Um, John Bethea, she's the most dangerous person since you know I don't agree personally agree with what she's saying. I mean, I'm sure there are people who agree, people who disagree. I'm just really more about you got to have some control of your own finances, your own currency. Money's for the people. We need it to operate, and whatever form of money they give us, you know, it's maybe not. It's fine. Maybe it's not fine. But whatever money you're given, it has to work. And it has to offer people, you know, trust and truth in it. It has to be sound. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for people to want to come in and accept it. Anyway, what other comments are out here? Let's see. Um, a lot of strong comments. I can see that a lot of strong feelings here. But again, when I was really going through the whole Biden plan and Jeff, let's go, Brandon. I was going through it and came across what Hoover had said. That one really kind of stuck out. So I mean, the Biden plan. You guys are going to hear it over and over and over again. But with what Hoover said, you may not have really heard that. So, which is why I wanted to focus a little bit more on that. Comments here. Okay, tell you what. Let me just go on to my commentary to kind of wrap things up. You gotta know what options are out there because all of us are going to need as many of them as possible, and I cannot stress that enough. An option you may not like today may be an option that may be the best looking thing tomorrow. So be open to understanding and taking a look at options. And we got to be real here. And the U.S., the world's reserve currency, Europeans and people in Asia, bear with me. Why is it a U.S. thing? Well, because it's a reserve currency, and it affects you. It's going to affect everyone. So the U.S. is moving farther and farther away from its core of freedom, justice, liberty, and it does sadden me. It maddens me a bit, of course. And other countries see this as well, where China, Russia, India, many countries and their central banks are shoring up and buying gold, knowing they need to get away from a nation on the declines currency. And that's a very real thing to understand. And they've been doing this for a while, and they know the dollar has been in trouble for a while. The difference, though, is that unlike before, this current batch of U.S. politicians, they do seem to be becoming blatantly more and more corrupt, guys, and without a worry, without a care, and depend. They depend on you to not know things, and that's what they're basically depending on. Where we shouldn't know much, we shouldn't care about it much, and we shouldn't understand it much. Just let them go and do their thing. And I apologize for being somewhat political. I really try to stay away from politics. I don't think I went too far into politics anyway, but in short, I don't think any of us can depend on politicians and governments to do the right thing anymore. Do the right thing with no ulterior motive, no hidden agenda. And yet, they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do, right or wrong, moral or immoral. They're going to do whatever it is to have you pay more in taxes, to whatever it is, to get us to pay for things. Like I said, that Hooden in the whole Hoo-denomics, the Hooden is you and me. We're the guys that are going to be paying for it. And this is why we're going to need options. We have to understand options. We're going to need them. And as I've said before, financial freedom, it's not how much fiat and assets you have. Financial freedom is how far removed you can legally be from the current monetary system. That's where you're going to get your financial freedom. Legally, always do things legally, though. How far removed can you be from the current monetary system? So, anyway, that will end my commentary and that'll wrap things up. So, just want to take a look at a few of the comments out there. Um, let's see. Um, okay. Ralph Steiner. True. All, all capital letters, empires collapse No exceptions. No exceptions. And I'll add to that. So does fiat. So does fiat. So it's a good point there. I'll appreciate that. Let's see. Um, does not. Let's see. Peter Froh, I might need you to explain this one a little bit. A gold-based crypto that the Fed does not control is only free and open way for. Okay, I get it. I understand now. Goes back to sound money. With what you're saying, it goes back to sound money and money that people trust from an organization that people trust, or maybe there doesn't need to be an organization, sort of like a trustless type of a deal there. Um, okay, so let's see what else is out here, and then we'll be wrapping things up. Um, yeah, VK Travelog, appreciate it. If you can, hey, love the thumbs up. We do appreciate it. Go ahead and look at the things that Hoover had to say, and go ahead and apply them to what's happening now. And really, the picture becomes a whole lot clearer. And again, international guys, Europe, Asia, it does also have to do with you, whatever happens in the US. And it's mainly because it is the world's reserve currency. And if you think your currency is safe because you're using something else other than the dollar, maybe dig a bit deeper and think again, because you're going to need stores of wealth just as much as everyone else, because everything is tied into that dollar. No matter how responsible your government has been, no matter how responsible your government has been with money printing, you're still tied into that dollar. So look at stores of wealth. And again, these are things like, of course, gold and silver. Send us an email, sales@silverbullion.com.sg. We'll see what we can do. If there's a fit, that we'd be able to give you some options there. So with that, I'll be wrapping up. Just want to wish you guys happy Thanksgiving that do celebrate Thanksgiving. Wait in line and wait your turn for Black Friday. I don't want to see too many trampling videos. I mean, yeah, they're kind of funny, but let's not trample over each other to get that big screen TV. Enjoy that turkey, and the next day enjoy your turkey sandwich, or whatever else you're going to do with it. But make sure you guys take care and take care of each other. We're all in the boat together. Your comments are appreciated. There are people who are just coming on to gold and silver. They look at your comments, and as I say, it's more important. Your comments are more important than anything I could ever say. So appreciate you guys, being participating in comments and helping people out, because you do help them. So with that, again, be a blessing, not a burden. We are all in this. We're all in this together for sure. So saddle up for what's coming ahead and silver up, and take care. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Take care. Aloha.